봤지 I'm sending you so 난 피곤하다고 좀 뻥쳐 Get rid of this hoes The sad that you already know Already know Already know Already know Already know Already know
In the days that followed, their relationship only deepened. They saw each other every night, exploring the city together, sharing dinners, and losing themselves in each other's company. Vian found herself falling more and more in love with him, drawn in by his intelligence, his charm, and his irresistible allure. She had never known anyone like him, and she didn't want their time together to end. But as their relationship progressed, she couldn't help but notice a darker side to him. There were moments when he would become distant, brooding, and she would catch glimpses of the Mafia he truly was. She knew that he was involved in things she would never understand, and that his world was far removed from her own. Still, she found herself unable to resist him, unable to turn away from the promise of passion and adventure. One night as he turned to her, his expression serious. Vian, he began, I want to tell you something important. She braced herself, waiting for him to reveal some dark secret, but instead he continued. I'm going away for a few weeks on business. She felt of disappointment, but tried to keep her expression neutral. Where will you be going? She asked, hoping that it wouldn't be too long. He smiled, but there was sadness in his eyes. I'm not sure, he admitted. It's a delicate matter and I'm not supposed to tell anyone about it. But I want you to know that I'll be thinking of you every moment I'm gone. He took her hand in his grip firm and reassuring. I want you to stay here, in this apartment. I want it to feel like home when I come back. Vian nodded, trying to hide her fears. Okay, she said softly. I'll wait for you. She couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding, but she couldn't bring herself to break away from him. She trusted Jimin, and she believed that their love was strong enough to survive anything. As the days ticked by, she found herself becoming increasingly anxious, unable to shake the feeling that something was wrong. Then one night, she received a call. There had been and they needed her to come down immediately. Her heart stopped as she raced down the hall, her feet not even touching the ground. When she arrived at the lobby, she was greeted by the sight of an ambulance and a group of paramedics surrounding a figure lying motionless on the ground. Her stomach lurched as she realized it was Jimin. She barely registered the paramedics' reassurance as they loaded him into the ambulance, telling her to follow them to the hospital. The ride to the hospital seemed to take an eternity, and every bump in the road sent a jolt through her. When they finally arrived, she followed the paramedics into the emergency room, her heart pounding in her chest. They led her to a curtained-off area where Jimin lay on a gurney, his face pale and a team of doctors and nurses surrounded him, working frantically to save his life. Tears streamed down her face as she took his limp hand in hers. "Jimin," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Please wake up. I need you." She felt helpless, unable to do anything but watch as the medical staff vowed to keep him alive. As the hours turned into days, she never left his side, refusing to give up hope that he would pull through. Finally, after what seemed like forever, the doctors emerged from the operating room. Their faces were grim as they approached her. "We did all we could," one of them said softly, "but he's sustained extensive internal injuries and his condition is critical. It's going to be a long road to recovery if he even makes it." Vian felt as if she had been in the gut. She clutched Jimin's hand tighter, willing him to fight to come back to her. In the days that followed, she barely left his side. She slept in a chair next to his bed, and every time he stirred or muttered, she was there, holding his hand, willing him to wake up. The doctors did their best to explain the extent of his injuries, but she found it difficult to comprehend. All she knew was that she loved him, and she wasn't going to let him go without a fight. As Jimin began to slowly regain consciousness, Vian's heart raced with hope. She watched him intently, waiting for any sign of identification. Finally, after several days, his eyelids fluttered open, and he looked around the hospital room with a confused expression. Seeing her there, tears welled up in his eyes, and he struggled to speak. "Vian," he croaked. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen." Tears streamed down her face as she took his hand in hers. "It's okay," she whispered. "Just rest. You're going to be fine." But the truth was, she wasn't sure if he would ever fully recover from his injuries. The doctors had warned her that his survival was nothing short of a miracle, and that there would be lasting physical and emotional effects from the. Despite the grim prognosis, Vian refused to give up on him. She spent every waking moment by his side, encouraging him, supporting him, and reminding him of their love. She read to him, sang to him, and told him stories from their past, doing everything she could to help him find the strength to heal. The days turned into weeks, and slowly but surely, Jimin began to improve. He started with simple tasks like squeezing her hand or lifting a glass to his lips. As his strength returned, so did his determination to regain his independence. He began physical therapy, learning to walk with a cane, and regained the use of his left arm. The road to recovery was long and hard, but with Vian by his side, he knew that he could face anything. One sunny afternoon, as they sat together in the hospital garden, watching the birds flit from branch to branch, Jimin turned to her with a newfound sparkle in his eye. "I want to take you somewhere," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Somewhere special." She smiled, knowing that wherever Jimin wanted to go, it would be perfect as long as they were together. And so, as the weeks turned into months, and the months into years, they continued to navigate the twists and turns of their new life together. Jimin's injuries had left him with a limp, and only partial use of his left arm, but he refused to let that define him. He threw himself into his work as a composer and a music producer, pouring all of his emotions into his music, and quickly gained recognition as one of the most talented and innovative composers and producers of his generation. YN2 found her own purpose in life. She used her experiences to help others find the strength to live there and start anew, sharing her story of hope and resilience with anyone who would listen. Together, they traveled the world, their love for each other growing deeper with each passing day. As they sat together on the balcony of their seaside cottage, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Jimin took YN's hand in his grip strong and steady. "Do you remember when I asked you that I want to see you again on that fateful night?" he asked her, a wistful smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "I never could have imagined the journey we've been on since then." She leaned in, gently on the cheek. "And I wouldn't have wanted to take any other road with anyone else," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "As long as we're together, we can face anything." And with that, they clinked their glasses together, toasting to the rest of their lives and the infinite possibilities that lay before them. To love someone is nothing. To be loved by someone is something. To love someone who loves you is everything.
All the way with me, baby boy. We already been there before, but tonight we gon' stay up all